Welcome to rural Crossroads of Butler County. In this episode, we explore the story of Elbing, located in Fairmount Township in the northwest portion of Butler County.
Elbing was officially platted in 1887 and incorporated in 1919. The town name was selected in honor of a northern Poland city where some early families originated.
So join us as we explore the rural crossroads of Elbing. Early settlers arrived in the area as early as 1870, but no community immediately was established. One of the earliest settlers was Mike Genty. Mike and his wife Sophronia developed a stock farm 7 years prior to the founding of Elbing in 1871. Mike, a Civil War veteran from Illinois, hoped to find land suitable for stock raising. He became a successful farmer and stockman and later served as a Butler County commissioner. Other settlers came to the area throughout the 1870s. Primarily settling between today's Peabody and Whitewater. By the late 1870s, an influx of Mennonites to the area dramatically increased the population of the area, and in 1887, the papers were signed and the Elbing Town Company was a reality, with J.W. Regier as the first president. Like many other Kansas communities, the town of Elbing and its formation was heavily influenced by Mennonites who immigrated to the United States in the late 19th century. Elbing's Mennonite founders did not take a direct route or easy pilgrimage to the plains of Kansas. Most hailed from West Prussia or parts of today's Poland, but some of those migrants had originally lived in parts of the Netherlands or Belgium before the move to Prussia.
It was founded by Mennonites from East Prussia in the 1880s. It was 7 families came to the Elbing area and founded the Zion Mennonite Church northeast of Elbing, and they, in 1888, I think it was, Jacob W. Regier sold land to the Elbing Town Company, 80 acres, and he formed a town company, and the town company must have existed by his force and personality.
Mennonites are part of the Anabaptist movement, or what some have termed a radical reform part of the Reformation. In many parts of Europe, the Anabaptist element was not well treated or allowed to worship freely, hence the immigration to the United States, or more specifically, the Western United States, became much more enticing. In the case of Elbing's founding Mennonites, the first group consisted of the Reverend Peter Dick and his family, including son-in-laws Bernard and Jacob Regier. They, like many early settlers to the area, became part of what was originally called the Butler Mennonite Church, later the Emmaus Mennonite Church. In 1883, some of the families who lived on the north end of this group formed their own house of worship, which would eventually become known as the Mennonite Zion Church in 1887. The Mennonite Church and its traditions have continued to be an integral part of the Elbing community and are up until the present day.
Like early settler Mike Genty, citizens of Fairmount Township tried their hand at cattle and hogs, in addition to farming. Elbingers pride themselves on their connection to the land, and area farmers have maintained the native grasslands and consistently utilized crop rotation with legumes. Elbing was not only a center of religious life for area Mennonites, but also a center of trade and commerce for farmers of the township. Farmers would bring in their cattle and hogs to be shipped on the railroad. The local elevator, which still exists today, assisted farmers with the selling of grain. Traditional family farming has been the backbone of the Elbing community since its inception. The early 20th century brought the oil boom to Elbing. Oil exploration on the nearby Leidick farm led to a discovery of oil. This well averaged 25 barrels a day, and onlookers gathered. In the spring of 1919, oil was found on several farms east of Elbing. One well, called Icestone No. 2, was considered a gusher, and 3,500 barrels of oil a day flowed naturally. The Lathrop well south of Icestone was reported to have 50,000 barrels of oil a day. The success of these discoveries led to the oil boom town of Oil Valley. Quickly, homes, stores, boarding houses, pool halls, theaters, and bank branches all set up for oil workers. The introduction of these newcomers to the town had its pros and cons. It brought new economic development, but for some locals, they saw these transient workers as individuals who didn't support local educational, religious, or cultural programs, and also brought pollution to the ecosystem. According to one resident in the book Elbing, oil companies didn't always plug wells adequately, which in turn caused gas to escape into the shale and ruin the water supply. The rigs and trucks killed the prairie grass, and the crude oil sprayed on the path polluted the soil. One citizen recollected, as a boy, seeing horses dying on the fields because they'd inhaled gases while scraping the slush ponds. However, residents at the time also acknowledged the benefit brought to Elbing and surrounding farmers, the utilization of natural gas that served homes and businesses.
There were a lot of people came to Elbing to work in the fields as well as living in Oil Valley and living here. And it really changed the dynamics of the town. So they incorporated, and when they incorporated, they could levy taxes and they could have a marshal and make ordinances and enforce them. So the town was incorporated in 1919.
Well, then in the 20s, prices were good and the farmers plowed up the ground. And then we had a depression and the drought came. And that's when things went bad. I've seen the sky completely brown. It looked like it was almost nighttime. I mean, in the sky, and a lot of that dirt could be coming from Oklahoma or somewhere else, and not even any wind. But then we had a lot of wind, and it blew a lot of the dirt around here. But then after the drought and the depression, times changed. The government had soil conservation.
In the late 1880s, citizens of Fairmount Township learned that the Rock Island Railroad, also known as the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific, had started a line from Peabody to Wichita. A portion of this line would need to go through the township, section owned by J.W. Regier. Mr. Regier understood the importance that the railroad industry would bring to the area and decided to not only help form the Elbing Town Company, but sell 80 acres of his land for the town company and suggest the town name. The railroad industry also affected township growth. Odd number sections at one point have been owned by the Santa Fe Railroad. These sections have been donated by the government to assist in constructing the railroad. These sections were not subject to the Homestead Act. In turn, this meant less homesteaders in the township compared to others.
I started working on the Rock Island Railroad as an agent telegrapher in 1946, and I traveled on the extra board to various towns. And the chief dispatcher sent me to Elbing January 23, 1947. He says the outgoing agent will take care of you. He'll clue you in on everything that's going on there. He'll give you the keys. So I took the evening train, and it stopped in Elbing around 11 p.m. And when I got off, I met the outgoing agent and his wife. Each one of them had 2 suitcases. And they said, "We're out of this burg." And he handed me the keys. He said, "Here, kid, keys to the depot. I'm leaving you a bed and a hot plate. You'll need them because there's no place to stay in Elbing." So I went into the depot, and the bed was unmade. They had just gotten out of it. And I got in with my clothes on and slept that night.
The story of Elbing and the citizens in the surrounding area is a story of faith, family, and farming.
Join us in 2 weeks as we explore the rural crossroads of Leon.